Aimee Jean Crist, a klutz, bad driver, big heart, witty personality, but most importantly, my best friend. I have known Aimee since elementary. We grew up together and became best friends in our middle school years. High school came, and eventually we were inseparable. Along with knowing Aimee for so long comes a lot of memories. Anywhere from jamming out to Beyonce on our road trips, taking family vacations together, all the way to telling her jokes and her not understanding them whatsoever. You tend to get used to it not long after you know her. Matter of fact, let me give you a slight example of her not understanding a joke I tried telling her. We were in the car, headed home from college one morning. I asked her what YES spells, and she responds with yes. I then asked her what EYES spells, and expecting her to just know that it spelled eyes, she began to argue with me how EYES doesn't spell anything but ES. For the entire ride home, I kept asking her what it spelled, and she never could catch on until we were getting out of the car, and the only reason she ever got the joke is because I had to explain it to her. Not one, two, but 3 times later, she finally understood. Although she may be the biggest ditz of them all, I've never known a more passionate, ambitious, and caring person. The love she has for FFA and the people involved makes me so glad I know her. Aimee has the biggest heart of anyone I know, and she's always first to help if you need it. I am very proud of my best friend and the person she's becoming through serving as your Region 2 Michigan FFA State Vice President. With honor, I'd like to introduce to you my best friend, Aimee Crist.
The first time that I met Jenna Kingsley was at a beef showmanship clinic at her county fair. The second time was when I judged her in the Creed speaking contest at districts. I specifically remember approaching her afterward with the feedback that she's a good speaker, but she needed to trade her pants in for a skirt. Her heels were way too tall, and altogether, she kind of resembled an awkward giraffe. Imagine my complete surprise when a year later, I got a phone call from Jenna asking for help with the demonstration contest. Since then, Jenna and I have developed a unique relationship. For the record, I'm just shy of 26 years old. Jenna is 18. You understand why we get weird looks when she calls me mom in public. Of course, along the way, Jenna has also designated me as her personal hairstylist. So about a year ago, before regional level state officer interviews, we were doing final interview prep. Now, for everybody, that looks a little different. Jenna's version of final prep is Jenna, her advisor, Miss Scott, and I, sitting in the ag room, with Jenna in a chair answering rapid-fire questions from Colleen and I, while I did her hair and Miss Scott finished her application. FFA members, over the last year, you have gotten to know Jenna as a cheerful, energetic individual that is not ashamed to be herself. Personally, my favorite attribute of Jenna's is her resiliency. In our time together, it has become the norm for Jenna to immediately after a practice interview or speech ask, what do I need to do better? How can I be better? Ms. Scott has reiterated that comment, saying that at times she finds Jenna's inquisitive nature to be exhausting. Jenna's favorite word is why. I hope that Jenna's thirst for knowledge and self-improvement, drive for success, and coachability have inspired each of you to live out the FFA's mission. But most of all, I hope that her innate self-confidence and authenticity serve as a constant reminder to take pride in who you are. Jenna, we are both so proud of what you've accomplished thus far and are so excited to see where life takes you. Just remember, your goals are time sensitive, but in the words of Miss Scott, boys and your hair can wait. On behalf of myself and Colleen Scott Kaiser, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce to you the girl that giggles when she's nervous, cannot tell a lie to save her life, is almost always late, and loves cows more than most people. With her retiring address entitled Embrace Exposure, your state sentinel, Jenna Kingsley.
Do you pretend to have a picture-perfect life?
Do you compare yourself to others and come up lacking?
What experience impacted your life the most?
When is a time that you felt inadequate?
Each and every one of us has experienced a scenario where we had two options: close ourselves off in self-protection, or open up and allow the real us to be seen.
Many say freshman year is a time you can completely reinvent yourself. You can leave behind your middle school ways and be whoever you want to be. In my 8th grade dreams, I was going to be an athlete in high school. I was determined to try every sport and be awesome at all of them. But here's the issue with that dream. I am extremely uncoordinated and by no means athletic. But spring came around and it was time for track signups, and you better believe that my name was first on that sign-up sheet. In preparation for my all-star track career, I decided that I needed the flyest shoes out there. I used up all my birthday money and went out to get the best Nikes I could find.
Growing up, I thought having divorced parents was awesome. I mean, who doesn't like double the Christmas presents, double the birthday presents, and 2 whole bedrooms all to myself? Throughout elementary and middle school, I lived with my mom, even though I spent every week looking forward to Friday night, where I could go to the farm and hang out with my dad. In high school, I moved in with him, which made it easier for me to manage my school and farming activities more efficiently. Unfortunately, my mom didn't agree with this decision, which led to some tension. Even though I love spending time with her and my sister through our many travels, I knew that this would be the best for me in the long run. Fast forward to my senior year. As an athlete, I was most excited for senior night, where I could walk down the field with my 2 biggest supporters, my parents. I could finally tell them all the things I was thankful for and how much I truly appreciated them.
With my brand new kicks and dedication, I was ready for my first ever track practice. I could not contain my excitement all day at school, counting down the minutes until it was time, until finally the last bell of the school day rang. I laced up my Nikes and I sprinted to the gym for stretches. But these weren't the normal stretches I was expecting. We had to reach all the way up and then down to each foot, like we were doing some kind of dolphin pose in a yoga class at the Y. But after stretching, it was time for the warm-up lap. I made my way to the front of the group, eager to try out my skills. Coach then told us we had 2 complete laps around the school perimeter. I knew it would be difficult, but I was ready for the challenge. I took off with all my friends around me, so happy I decided to join, which meant that I got to spend more time with them. But not even 1 lap in, I started to struggle, falling further and further behind. My legs were tired and my chest was burning. I hated track. I wanted to quit right then and there, to give up and go home. But I didn't. I finished those 2 laps, hardly alive and barely breathing.
Near the beginning of my senior year, I found out that my mom had planned to move away. 1,666 miles away. It takes 24 hours to drive from Weberville, Michigan to Helena, Montana. What? No. How could my mom do this to me during my senior year? I pretended to be happy for her and wanted her to do what was best for her. I acted like it didn't bother me because I didn't want to seem selfish. Since I didn't live with her and only talked to her once or twice a week, the issue was out of sight and out of mind. But in reality, I shut down. Of course, I responded to anyone that asked with, "I'm fine. Everything's good." But it wasn't. Deep down, I knew I didn't want her to leave.
2 weeks later, it was time for our first track meet. The bus ride there was filled with many sing-alongs, smiles, and laughs, which had almost made up for the struggles track had given me leading up to then. After arriving and jogging our warm-up, I received my permanent residence on the front row of the struggle bus. After jogging our warm-up, I was eager to try out my newly learned skills in the 100-meter dash and the long jump. But I placed dead last in both my events, and a deep embarrassment rushed over me. I confided in my friends and my teammates that I just wasn't sure I could stick this season out. They replied with their cliche lines like, "Things will get better. It's just your first meet. We have so many more to go." But that was what worried me more than anything, the feeling that it wouldn't get better, that I couldn't get better. How could I just accept the fact that my dream of being a track star was a complete dud? After talking with my best friend and my coach, I decided to take the risk and continue with the rest of the season.
I began to distance myself from my friends and dreaded the question, "How's your mom doing?" I would immediately change the subject when I could. It was like I wore a mask to convince people that I was okay. Finally, something had to give. One day, I was sitting at my best friend's house. Her mom, Janet, asked me how I was. Now, she had heard that my mom was planning to move away, but we had never really talked about it. Of course, by routine, I responded with, "I'm fine," and looked at her with the biggest smile I could. She asked me again, "How are you doing?" Cue the ugly crying. I told her that I didn't want my mom to move away and that my senior year would be ruined if she left me. I just didn't understand how she could do this to me. This is when I needed and wanted her the most. Janet wrapped me in a hug while I cried on her shoulder.
I didn't medal in a single event that track season. In fact, the best I finished was third to last in my heat. But that's not what I remember most about my track debut. What I took away was the countless memories made by meeting people from across the county, the after-school practices with my closest friends, and finally, that opportunity to try something new. And for that, I'm forever grateful that my awkward and clumsy self opened up to this new experience.
After talking with Janet, I felt relieved. I finally stopped lying to myself and everyone around me. I was more focused mentally, did better in practices physically, and overall felt emotionally better. I finally felt like a real person after admitting the pain that I had felt. By being able to talk about my feelings to others and admit that I wasn't okay, helped me to be more real, more authentic.
Authenticity means showing up and allowing yourself to be seen. When we're not authentic, we mask these true thoughts, feelings, and emotions in fear that it will inconvenience those around us.
We should always strive to expose ourselves and be authentic in all aspects of our lives. It's okay to say things like, "You know what? Today I'm sad." Or, "I know I'm not the best at this, but I'm going to try it anyway because I know that I will learn something new." Exposing ourselves is not easy, but it is what allows us to grow and become better individuals.
Make yourself vulnerable by trying something new. By trying a sport I was admittedly terrible at, I was able to make many new friends.
Show authenticity by allowing yourself to be seen. By being able to talk about my feelings with others, I immediately felt relief and acceptance afterwards. By living a life of vulnerability and authenticity, we are better able to communicate and show our true self.
Embrace exposure by trying something new. Join that sports team or contest.
Embrace exposure by allowing yourself to be seen. Don't just show up. Participate and engage in events.
Embrace exposure by opening yourself up to critique and criticism. Always be open to ideas or suggestions given by coaches and mentors.
Embrace exposure by saying how you truly feel, even if it may not be popular. Do not be afraid to tell someone that you're sad or upset.
Many times throughout our journey in FFA and life, we'll encounter many different situations requiring us to choose between being real or reserved.
By exposing how we really feel, we open up to personal growth. Michigan FFA, embrace exposure.
Aimee, you are by far one of the kindest individuals on our team. You always make time to sit down and listen and give advice whenever we need it. You are kind, smart, hardworking, and beautiful. From playing multiple instruments to making everyone feel welcomed, it has been such an honor to serve with you this past year. Michigan FFA, our Region 2 State Vice President, Aimee Crist.
Jenna, thank you for being such a kind, spirited, and caring individual for our team. From your funny but corny jokes sometimes to your loving heart, you always strive for greatness and continuously put forth 110%. We were honored to serve with you this year, and Michigan was great to have you. Michigan FFA, our state sentinel, Jenna Kingsley.
At the blank page before you open up the dirt.